Morning, everybody. Hope you're doing well today. Glad to see you back, or glad to see you here if you're new to virtual. In the middle of fixing my stapler right now. Y'all having a good Friday? Yay. It works. I fixed it. Yay. So I think pretty much everybody has their name as their username right now, which is fabulous. If by some chance you don't have your actual name, then please make sure that you rename yourself so that I know who you are and I can give you credit for attendance. As we give everybody a couple of minutes to get hooked up and signed in this morning, I want to take a few minutes to have some celebrations, some shout outs, some brag moments. If there's anything going on in your life that you're celebrating this week or something that you want to brag on, I would love to hear it in the chat. My brag is that I'm working on my application for a doctoral program. So I'm excited about that. On one side of my family, I was the first to go to college. I've gotten my master's now, and I'm getting ready to get my doctorate. So making folks proud. So I'm excited about that. So what do you have to be excited about this week? What's going on? It can be big or small. It can be something as simple as the grocery store finally got the Lunchables back in stock. Whatever. A car for Christmas. That's so exciting. I wish I got a car for Christmas. I got car seat covers for Christmas, so there's that. I can hide the spills from my children in my mom van. Anybody else got good news? Anything you want to celebrate or brag on? A puppy. That's fun. Really? What kind of trick is it? Very cool. Yes. Ice cream. My daughter would be excited about ice cream too. A license is good. Maddie, what kind of dog did you get? Both of mine are rescues, so my answer would be like a cute one. If you're just coming in, welcome. I'm so glad to see you here. I see we got a big crowd because I'm joining together Spanish 1, 2, and 3 for this Friday session. I'll tell you why in a couple of minutes as we get going. I see everybody's come in with their first and last name showing. That's excellent. That's just what we want. Thank you so much. If you're back, I'm glad to have you back. If you're new to virtual, welcome to virtual. All right. So you know that there is a chat box. So if you have questions, if I'm going too fast, if you need me to address something again, feel free to send me a note in the chat. I will keep my eyes on that. And we'll go ahead and get started. So I know many of you are returning, but for those people that are new, I'm going to start with a little overview and refresher for everybody. So I'm going to go on and share my screen. And we're going to start with Apex. So let's do this. And I got to open my chat. And thank you for your patience, y'all. Okay. All right. So regular courses are hosted in Odysseyware. So many of you are familiar with Odysseyware because a lot of your classes are there. Spanish, any world language, and honors courses and AP courses are hosted on Apex. So you won't see those grades when you log into Odysseyware to do everything else. So just set a reminder for yourself to make sure that you're also going to Apex. You can get there by going to the single sign-on portal, which is portal.hcbe.net. When you sign in there and you have all your buttons, Apex will look like this one. It may or may not be next to your Odysseyware button. But when you click into Apex, it'll look something like this. Okay. This semester, we're going to cover 3 units. Each unit consists of 4 lessons, and we'll have a test at the end of every unit. So once a month or so, we'll have a test. This week, I have asked you to do lesson 1.1. So when you click in, it'll kind of tell you what you're going to be, the theme of the unit. If I'm looking at Spanish 1 right now, but Spanish 2 and 3, your pages look very similar to this. So this should apply to everybody. When you click into your lesson, you've got all these little lesson bubbles, these little study lessons. Sometimes you'll notice that there's a gap. I don't see one here, but some of the other classes do. Occasionally, there are lessons that I will omit for whatever reason. But you'll work your way through each of these lessons, and each of them will have a little practice. So if I click in here and I want to go ahead and work my way through the unit, I'll read over the lesson, I'll listen to the words, I will play the game, the matching or the fill in the blank or the multiple choice, listen to the videos. One of the things virtual students have told me since they've come back is that they're not accustomed to the sound of Spanish, either saying it, hearing it. So I would encourage you to take the time to listen to the videos and even make some time and space for yourself to practice saying the words. I know it might be silly at home doing it by yourself, but it's good practice. And if you would like some feedback as you're working on that, you're welcome to reach out to me, or there's an app called Duolingo. And it's different from what we're doing, but it's super easy to use. It's free. Again, it's called Duolingo, and it has a speaking and listening component, which will give you feedback on how you're saying things. So if that's something that's important to you, that's an option. So the lesson will have that it will teach you what it needs to teach you. It'll have some practice. It'll also provide a study guide. When you click on that study guide, it's going to basically give you a PDF document. There's not a way to write on it like there is with some of the practice. You can fill in your answers and press a button. There's not a way to write on this one. But a lot of times it'll have the main information from the lesson and it'll have practice of some of the key concepts. So I would encourage you to do the study guide. I would also say they probably make good notes. And then if you want to check how you're doing on those study guides, the key to the study guide is posted in the review slide that I'll show you about in a minute. Okay, so you'll work your way through these lessons. Each lesson will have 2 quizzes. Those quizzes are 10-question multiple choice quizzes. You can take those quizzes as many times as make you happy. Feel free to take them again until you make 100. You'll have to ask me to open the quiz back up. So just send me an email saying, hey, Ms. King, I'm in Spanish 2. I need you to open quiz 1.1.7. That way I know who you are, which class I'm looking in, and which specific quiz. Okay? Otherwise, it'll take me some time to look up which class you're in and trying to figure out which quiz you might not have scored well on. And so it's much simpler if you need me to reset a quiz, tell me who you are, which Spanish class you're in, and what number the quiz is that you want me to reset. Now out here at the end of the lesson, you'll see this custom assignment, okay? I know it's at the end of a lesson and it's easy to overlook, but it's important, okay? Because all of this stuff, you're just kind of soaking in information, you're making guesses on the practice activities. This custom assignment is the one where you're gonna put the wheel to the road and see if you can actually do this or not. It's the one where you're also gonna get feedback from me specifically about how you're working. So if you click on that custom assignment, that's going to be your performance task. At this time, I'm looking at 1, maybe 2 performance tasks a week. So total, you're looking at 3 or 4 assignments per week for Spanish. That's the 2 quizzes and 1 to 2 performance tasks. This week, there's just 1, and it says 1.1 performance task. So if you click into there, it's going to say, please do this. You can go directly to it here, or you can get to it through Google Classroom. Ooh, excuse me. And there's also notes for this assignment. The lesson in Apex is notes. And also in Google Classroom, I have some condensed notes. Okay. So let's take a look at Google Classroom. If you haven't already, most of you have, but if you haven't, when you first get into Google Classroom, it'll have all your classes, and it'll ask you to accept the invitation. So if you haven't done that, please do that. I'm going to use Spanish 2 as an example here. It'll take you into the stream for your class where it puts a note about everything that's happened. So that can be kind of overwhelming and not very organized, but it will show the most recent thing on top. So just depends what you're looking for. So in the stream here, you can see that I've been posting things. I've also posted a welcome that goes over some of the things that we've talking about today. And it also includes a link to my class webpage. So if you're trying to get a big picture on what's going to be due when, or trying to figure out, okay, what's due this week, if you click on that web page. So the calendar here will have a running playlist of when everything is due. So today's the 15th. Your assignments for lesson 1.1 are due today. The world is not going to come crashing down if I don't get them today. But when I go to grade them, if I don't have them, they're going to be marked as missing, and it's going to affect your points, and then your parents are going to yell at you. So just try. I keep the deadlines on Friday, so try to have everything for the week done before Friday. So you can see here next week, I'd like you to have finished lesson 1.2, the following 1.3, and so on. You can add this calendar to the calendar on your phone if you like. You can see the beginning of February is your first test. You can see when we have holidays and breaks. Okay, so that's at the top of the page. If you scroll down, I will try to keep a to-do list here. So if you ever kind of slip off the grid and decide to come back to Spanish, this to-do list will help you know where we are right now. So the first week, I needed you to get signed in and get familiar with things and do that first week's lesson. I'll try to keep this updated as best I can. There's also a button here if you need me. Now, you can always email me. You can always send me a message through Apex or Google Classroom. But if you would like to talk to me, like you need me to go over a concept or help you with an assignment, or you're dying from boredom and loneliness at home, whatever the reason, you can click this button and schedule a time to chat with me. This is what it looks like. Is it a quick chat? Do you have a quick question? Do you need a little bit more support? You can click whichever works for you. It'll let you know when I'm available. You'll pick a time, tell me who you are, and then you hit the button and it will automatically set up a time for us to Zoom and take care of whatever it is you would like to talk about. Okay? So again, that talk to me button is on the class webpage where the calendar is right there. Any questions so far? I know I'm a fast talker. Everybody following along okay? Okay, excellent. So Google Classroom has an app. If you don't already have the Google Classroom app, I recommend it. One, it makes life a little simpler if you need to click in and check on something. Two, you can turn on notifications so it'll let you know when I post like assignments and stuff, or if I send out a reminder for the Zooms or post the new password for the week. So if you don't already have the Google Classroom app, I think it's helpful. Take that as you will. When you click on classwork, you have a button up here in the app. I don't know about on the computer, but you'll have a button here to see your work and your grades. So there's a couple places you're going to see grades. You'll see your Google Classroom assignments graded in Google Classroom. So like that 1.1 performance task that you're going to do here, you're going to get a grade here because I've got it. Google Classroom and Apex don't talk to each other. So when you do the assignment here, I've got to score it and post the score. And then I'll collect all of those scores when I'm ready and post them to Apex. So sometimes there will be a gap, usually of several days between when you turn something in and when that grade makes it to Apex. And then there's probably going to be a few more days before that Apex grade gets updated in Infinite Campus. So just keep that in mind that as you're doing work, it doesn't automatically show up. The grades don't automatically show up. Oftentimes I'll have to review them. Oftentimes I'm scoring them manually myself, right? They're not all computer generated. But if you ever need something more urgently, feel free to send me a message. Okay, so at the top of your Google Classroom page, this link will always be here to let you know how to get into Zoom. So it'll tell you what day of the week, what time, it'll have the meeting ID and the password. I will change the password every week, usually Thursday, just to keep things fresh, make sure we don't have any creepers lurking. So if you ever need to figure out how to get in or where to go, that post will stay there in Google Classroom, always at the top of the page. Okay. Now, so we're studying Unit 1 in Apex. You just did lesson 1.1. So beneath that, under the title for our unit, I've got a slides review. So what I do in the slides review is I take that information you studied in Apex and I'll condense it. So you know, in Apex, there's a lot of clicking. So this will streamline that. Now for Spanish 2 this week, they're working on the preterite tense or the past tense. And the Apex notes on the preterite I don't think are that great. So I give you my own. So in the review slides, if you've done something in Apex that maybe wasn't solid for you, go check out my slides because I'll have a video to explain it. I try to keep the videos short and a good explanation of whatever the topic is. So it'll have examples of how to use it. Somebody will talk you through it. So if you like watching a lesson, listening to a lesson, look here in the slides and it'll help explain things a little bit better. Okay. So it's a combination of my notes and the Apex notes. Again, the study guides from the lessons will be posted here. So any of those little mini unit study guides that you do, the answer keys are here. You can check in, make sure you're doing it right. I think that's what you need to know about that. Spanish 2, I'm going to say this while I'm here. Spanish 2, they're really rushing the past tense and so far. What you guys are working on in week 1 with the preterite is something we usually spend a month on in the classroom. And what we're doing in week 2, we also usually spend a month on. So that being said, try to look at it, use the information that's here as thoroughly as you can. Make sure it's handy when you're doing the assignment so you can have something to reference because there's a lot of little pieces. And give yourself some patience and grace. if it feels overwhelming, because it probably does. But we'll get through it, I promise. So, um, Spanish 2, y'all have that little disclaimer because of that. The other thing I'm doing, a lot of you said that you wanted more of a teacher teaching, that you missed that experience from being in a classroom. So what I'm trying to do for everybody is, at this time, I've recorded a lesson and posted it for you. It's a YouTube video, so you can click on that, watch it whenever, wherever. Um, in the future, I'm thinking about doing like a live lesson. So I'll make an announcement. Hey, Spanish 1, I'm going to have a live lesson on Tuesday at 1 o'clock. You know, follow me on YouTube, subscribe to get the notification, and then you can tune in and watch. And then if you have questions, you can ask that way. That may wind up being a Zoom. I haven't really worked out the details yet, but I'm trying to find a way to support our weekly meeting with some smaller lessons in a video format, whether that's a live video or recorded, I'm not sure yet. But if you have any tips on that, something that works well for you, I'm all ears. Or if your other teachers are doing things that are cool and you'd like me to try that, feel free to let me know those things too. But the biggest hurdles I felt like with the Zooms is keeping up with when and where your Zooms are, and remembering to wake up and attend them. And I kind of felt like if I do like a live YouTube broadcast with a lesson and it could notify you on that day, I know a lot of times, so for example, my church is still closed for COVID, and they're doing their services online. And I know it really helps me on Sunday morning to get that message so that I know that I need to get my life together and go sit down somewhere. And I thought that might be something that would be useful to you. So that's what I'm going to try. I don't know how it's going to work out, but that's where my head's at. Anyway, so the slides review, again, we'll go over everything you learned in Apex. And then above that will be your performance. You're going to show me that you can do with whatever that we're studying that week. So it's going to take it a minute to load. What I'm looking for evidence of is that you have studied and can use what we have studied. So I'm specifically going to be looking for that lesson's vocabulary words, that lesson's verb forms, okay? Because I'm looking for evidence of that lesson, Google Translate is not so great. Google Translate will give you Spanish words. It is effective at doing that. But Google Translate doesn't know the difference between the tenses. So if we're working on the preterite tense, which is one of the past tenses, and you're supposed to write the word lived, well, there's one tense that means I was alive, I lived. There was one tense that means I used to live, like in that house. There's another word that means that is an adverb, like a lived experience, or an adjective, excuse me. And Google doesn't know which one you need. It's just going to give you one. So that's where using the notes comes in handy, because they're going to tell you what I want you to do. All right. So in the performance task, if it's focused on grammar, I'm going to give you some notes to help you out. Or you've got the notes in Google Classroom and on Apex. So I don't always provide them, but if it's specific, I will try to. Sometimes they're easy multiple choice questions. Sometimes I'm going to ask you to write a verb form. If I ever do that, it's going to be the verb form that I've pictured. Okay? So if you're like, what is this present tense? Is this? It's whatever we're studying in that week. I'll look at some other formats too. So sometimes the form will auto grade for me, and sometimes it won't. So I'm going to go into Spanish 3 and look at their performance task and their information. Okay, Spanish 3, you guys are working on something called subjunctive, which is a tense related to doubt. So I posted the slides review, and then I felt like the way that Apex organized it wasn't like, it showed you the little pieces, but it didn't show you the big picture. And I wanted you to have the big picture. So I made a separate video tutorial, and I made my own subjunctive notes. And I hope that will help you kind of understand, get a better picture for what you're doing. Anyway, so your performance task, your chapter had more of a vocabulary focus. So I tried to use some of that vocabulary. Some of them are short questions, like a multiple choice. If I ever ask you a short answer question, a question in Spanish, I am looking for a Spanish sentence answer. Okay, not one word. Please don't write yes or no. Please use Spanish and please use a sentence. And it's going to, I want you to recycle the language of the question. So if your English teacher says, who was the third president of the United States? Your answer would be, the third president of the United States was blank. Same thing is true in Spanish. If this question asks, who plays the role of Hamilton? Your answer is going to say, Lin-Manuel Miranda plays the role of Hamilton in Spanish, because it's Spanish class. And I need to know that you can use Spanish. Good. All right. So if it's short answer, you're going to answer with Spanish sentences. Yay. So the first part deals with some of that vocab. And then the second part is going to get into the grammar and the notes. So again, use your notes to help support what you're doing. Make sure that you've done the lesson and watched the videos before you dive into these practice activities. Sometimes on the short answer questions, I will rig it so that it will not accept your answer unless it's correct. So sometimes you can type an answer and it'll just say, yep, you got it right, or no, you got it wrong. Sometimes you'll type an answer and it'll say, oops, try again. If I've got it set up to give you an oops, it's because I want you to, there's something wrong with your spelling, or there's something wrong that needs an accent, or it's really picky about case. So if you capitalize something and it's not supposed to be capitalized, it'll catch that too. So look for those three things. If it gives you an error message, check your spelling, check your accents, and check your case, like capital or lowercase. Okay. All right. So let's peek at Spanish 1 for a hot second. Spanish 1, I have been on top of my game this week. I have already posted the slides to get you into next week's work. So those are available for you. And at some point soon, I will be adding the next performance task as well. All right. So any questions so far about your activities, about your grades, about how I'm going to give you information and how to complete activities? Okay, thank you. All right. So lesson 1 was open this past week. I think I've opened lesson 2 up for everybody already. By the middle of next week, I will have opened lesson 1.3. Probably early Monday, or maybe late Monday, you'll see the performance task show up, which again is that custom assignment at the end of the lesson. So you'll see that post in Apex and in Google Classroom, in both places. Again, those are parts of your grade, so make sure you're doing all of it. So I'm going to go to that. Will it let me see a home page? Natasha, you're in here today, baby. Do you mind if I pull up your grades? I want to show them what they look like in Apex, if you're okay with that. Wonderful. You're so helpful. Thank you. Getting my window ready. Here we go. All right. So in Apex, you can see your grades for each class, and it's going to show you a couple of things. It's going to show you your grade, the quality of your work, and it's going to show you your grade to date, or your in progress grade. So when you click into the course, it'll show you each of your assignments. So this week, everything starting with 1.1 was due. She's turned all of that in. This tells you how many points it was worth and how many points she earned. and what percent of a grade that is. Okay. Once the due date passes, if you haven't turned it in, it's going to show up as a 0 until I'm able to grade it and post it. Okay. So if you caught that, not just when you turn it in, but when I'm able to grade it and when I'm able to post it. So keep that in mind. So for example, beginning next week, when I grade this week's work along about Tuesday, if you don't have it turned in by then and I post grades, it's going to go in as a 0 until I have a chance to go back and grade some more, which might be next week. Okay. And the assignments that aren't due yet will show up, and I will add the due date when I grade them and post them. Okay. Unlike in-person class, Apex puts all of your points from your assignments into one big pot, and you either earn all of those points or you don't. Okay. So if this is my cup of points and I've done half of my activities, I'm going to have half of a grade. If this is my cup of points and I do all of my activities, but I don't do them very well, then I'm going to have like this much because I'm not getting all of the points on each activity that I could. Okay? That's where retaking those quizzes becomes more important, because if you make, you know, an 80 on every quiz and you're like, okay, I passed, well, an 80 is still here. And if you can retake them and get 100 and get that cup full, why not, right? So that's how that works. That's how you'll see your grades. When we get a little further on, Apex is probably going to start sending out a weekly message to your parents on Sundays to let them know how you're progressing if you've logged in. So a word about logins. In Apex or Odyssey, we expect that you're doing about the same amount of work that you do in person. So in-person students have 45-minute classes, 5 days a week. That's a total of 4 hours of study in each class per week. So we expect that on an average week, if I click into Apex, I will see that you have logged in several times, and I will see that you have earned however many minutes, because I can see that. So when your parents go, he says that he's been on there every single day, and I can say, he logged in once for 4 minutes and turned in no assignments. It's kind of powerful when I can screenshot that and send it to your parents so they can see what you're doing. So just be advised, we expect you to be showing up to the work online just like you would show up to the work in the classroom. Okay. So for next week, you're going to do lesson 1.2. You're going to take the 2 quizzes. You're going to keep your eyes open for that custom assignment that we'll post either Monday or Tuesday for the week. You're going to use the notes in Google Classroom, the slides review, to help you do these performance tasks. If you have questions, you can send me a message through email, through Apex, through Google Classroom. You can set up a time to meet with me using this button, which I'll try to put in your email as well. So last semester, when they started figuring out people were falling behind in their work, they started making some requirements like mandatory attendance in Zooms and things like that. They've got a lot more experience to start those things a lot sooner this semester. So heads up, if you were summoned to come to afternoon tutoring or required to attend Zooms, those things will be kicking off much sooner this time, because we don't want you to fall behind. We want you to be successful. We want you to be supported. All right, peeps. I think that's about all I have, unless you have any questions. All right. I hope you have a good week. If you get stuck on anything, please reach out and let me know. If you need me to reset a quiz, tell me who you are, what Spanish you're in, and which quiz you need. Bye. Peace.